Zoe, and today I have my All the Light We Cannot See book review. So let's get started. So the first half of this book review is going to be a non-spoiler part. So if you've already read the book, just skip to a little bit after this, and you should be good to go. Okay, so for those of you who haven't read All the Light We Cannot See, first off, I highly recommend it. It just won the Pulitzer. It's by Anthony Doerr. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. It takes place during World War II. It has two different storylines. One from the perspective of a French girl living in occupied France who's blind. And then the other from a young boy in Germany that goes through a Hitler youth school kind of indoctrination thing. And so it's basically their two different perspectives, and then eventually you assume that their storylines will somehow converge and they'll meet. So it's basically the story of their two journeys throughout World War II and surviving and just learning to adapt in a world that's so war-torn and finding love and meaning and happiness despite all that. So I definitely recommend it. It's so beautiful, and the language itself is just so amazing. Like, it's not just the plot that's interesting, it's like his descriptions and just his stories are so beautiful, and he's so knowledgeable. Like, he knows like about everything, about radios, about snails. Like, it's really, really great. So yeah, if you haven't read the book, I would stop it now and then watch this after you finished. Okay, so spoilers now. Okay, so first off, I wanted to say that the language is absolutely beautiful, and I'm going to be putting up a separate video on quotes, like my favorite quotes from this book, so you can watch that to learn more, like, what things I like the most about his writing. But, like, oh my god, it's just, like, actual art. Like, his words are just art. It's really great. I also thought that the perspective was so unique and so interesting. Like, half the book is told from a blind girl's perspective, so someone who can't see, and yet the way she views the world is so bright and so hopeful and unique and untarnished. It's really pure. Her perspective is so pure. That's the word. And I've never read anything like that from someone with such a unique perspective. And then again, their perspectives contrasted. Werner and Marie Laure, I think is how you say her name, are so interesting because he's growing up. They're obviously on the opposite sides of the war, and just the similarities and differences between their perspectives is so interesting because they're the same age, but they're just growing up in such polar opposite countries. I also loved his, I don't know if I would say it was a comparison, but all the snail stuff, like snail imagery, I guess you would say, or like mollusks, like in the museum with that doctor who was like a snail expert, and then Marie Laure's eventual, she becomes a snail expert, and just like what the meaning of that, like why snails? And like then in St. Malo, that little like enclave area where she can go to the sea, with all those snails, just the description of them on the walls was so interesting to me. I loved that, but I don't really know what it means yet, but it was really intriguing because, I mean, normally we think of snails as such a disgusting thing, but then through her eyes and through that doctor's eyes, they're so beautiful, and just these little machines at work trying to like live simply and purely, I guess. So that was super interesting to me. Werner's journey was also super interesting. His kind of development throughout the novel. Spoiler thing. His death to me was completely just like he survived the entire war, and then I bet there's some meaning behind it, but as just plain plot, like wanting people to be happy, it kind of really sucked. Just like he made it through the war, he survived. He was like buried under a building and he survived, and then he's like in a POW camp and he just walks out and steps on a landmine, like, okay, cool, I haven't been, rooting for you for the past 450 pages. But besides that, his journey from being almost submissive, very submissive, just following orders, not really taking control of his life, and then I would say, the climax of the book, when he gets out of the B hotel and rescues Marie and kills the sergeant searching for the Sea of Flames. It's just, you see him finally take control and like live a life of his choice, despite all the things that have happened to him and all the things he's watched and just witnessed and not been able to have any say in, really. That was kind of really powerful, I thought. Also, him and Marie's meeting was so brief, but like there was so much, it was just enough at the same time. It was so powerful, and it shaped their lives forever, and just like the peaches that they got to eat was so, I loved that Madame Manek's, her presence was still there with them, and just how strong a connection can be built in such a little time. It was just so beautiful, and how at least Warner had been connected to her in some way for such a long time, and how her desire to reach out and connect with people through the radio actually successfully did that, saying that you can connect through these hard times with opposite sides, like people aren't strangers. It was really great that they had that connection, even though it was for such a brief time. And when she was walking away with her pillowcase down to like be rescued, it was just like, I just want you guys to like fly somewhere else and fall in love. Also, the supporting characters in this book were phenomenal. Like Jutta, Madame Manek, Etienne, and Papa, I forget what her dad's name is. They were all so rich, and they added so much to the story. I absolutely loved Madame Manek and Jutta because they were such forces in this book. I mean, so was Marie-Laure, but like just as these fierce women characters who just had this fire inside, especially Jutta. It was such a more subtle way, but like you totally could see that she was a fighter, like she wouldn't stop until she got what she wanted. She was someone who didn't take no for an answer, who loved so fiercely. And then Madame Manek with her like underground French little uprising revolution thing. I know there's like an actual term, and that was an actual thing. That was such a subtle way, but such an effective way for her to fight. They were just, I loved them. They were so rich, and they were such forces in this book, and they were just kind of role models in how you should live life and fight for what you want and not give up. Like, neither of them gave up. Like, even Jutta, after the whole Berlin thing with the Russian soldiers, which was really dark and very not expected, and then Madame Manek getting a fever, and people getting executed for this kind of thing, and they just didn't stop. And then Etienne followed in her footsteps and kept the thing going after she died. It was just such a hopeful thing that people actually fought for what they believed in and wouldn't give up despite the danger of death. Like, it just shows that there are things worth fighting for. I really liked it. Okay, the ending of this was so heart-wrenching. It wasn't heartbreaking, it was a good ending. But, like, with Warner dying, and then, the big, tall, huge soldier, him just being, like, an electrician. I mean, not just, but, like, I don't know, he was so alone. I guess that's maybe something he wanted. And then Jutta's life was good, but, like, even when she got the Warner's bag and notebook and then went to St. Malo and then went to see Marie-Laure, like, it wasn't, like, a big, like, resolution. Like, people were resolved and content and, like, accepting things. It was just kind of like they accepted it. I don't know. It's just, I wanted, like, a more, like, connection. It was just like, okay, this is his stuff, like, this is really hard. I mean, and I know it's realistic, like, that's not a bad thing I'm commenting on. It was just not what, I wanted. And then the last chapter, I might have just been, like, totally zoned out, but, like, I flipped the next page to, like, see the next chapter, and then it just said acknowledgements, and I totally did not see that coming. Like, I just thought, oh, next, like, I didn't think those words were the last words of the book. Like, they didn't seem like this huge blah thing, like, let me think about this for a couple months. You know, it was, I mean, maybe that was the point. It was just, like, going on with life. Overall, though, I absolutely love this book, and I would highly recommend it. It's probably one of my favorite books. The story is just so rich. It's so rich with just feeling and life. You just need to read it. It's just great. Okay, next video will be on the quotes from this book. I'm going to make that now. But comment, like, subscribe. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you soon. Bye!